Let's start our day to continue with this topic. So we had seen yesterday how one can connect to data files or existing SAS data sets within the system, right? So we saw that data sets are saved with an extension of .sas7b dat. So this is an extension for SAS data files. Now we have also got introduced that what is SAS data sets? It's nothing but tables, but they are into SAS. Hence we term it as SAS data set. So within SAS
Your
environment,
screen,
the
Ashwini, we are not able
yes,
to view your screen.
this is fine.
Yeah, now it is.
So we had seen yesterday that dot .sas7b that is an extension for SAS datasets, and SAS datasets it's nothing but tables. We view it in SAS environment, hence it's termed as SAS datasets. So it's the same table which we see in Excel or in any other data files with rows and columns, but only thing is in SAS the terminology changes. For rows we term it as observations, and for columns we term it as variables, right? So we had also seen the same table or the table in SAS environment, or we call it a SAS data set. It consists of two portions, right? So we had got introduced that one can view or the two portions of a data is descriptive portion and the data portion. So what is a descriptive portion? It's nothing but it just describes the table. Describes the table in such a way that general information about your table, that what's your table name, when the data a table was created, then how many rows it has, how many columns it has, and what are the attributes of your columns. Now attributes means columns, so characteristics. In short, the column name, type, length. Okay, so this is the descriptive part of the data table within SAS. Whereas what is a data portion? It's nothing but simple values which we observe is called as a data portion.
So the descriptive portion will have only one row all the time.
It's not row, it's the columns which they're telling it's about the table, the column information. So this is called descriptive portion. And if you want to see the details of descriptive portion, we got introduced to proc contents, right?
Yeah.
And within proc contents, we get these three portion as a result, where it's giving you the name of your data set along with its extension, its member type is a data. Because we are using SAS software to view the table, its engine is base. Sometimes it comes base or it gives you V9 or V7. Okay, that's the version of your base SAS program or base SAS software. Then how many observations, how many variables, is your data compressed, what is the maximum length, is your data sorted, okay, then what is the data of presentation, that is the operating system, and what is the encoding is nothing but if you see these words, it's all about font. Okay, then the second part of this contents is engine host information. Engine host means when a table in SAS is been saved, in SAS the table is saved as pages. So it's all virtual way of thinking and imagining how the things are in the backend. Okay, so every data set is saved as pages. So it's telling you general information that the data set page size is so much, it is having number of data pages is one. It depends on number of observation how many pages it takes. Okay, then the first page is starting with one, and how many observations per page can be saved, and this data has observations with 19 observations on the page and all this information, right? And the third portion is the one which we mostly concentrate, is termed as the alphabetic list of variables and attributes. So that means alphabetic list, that is this variable names which appear in this report is showing you alphabetically from your table, and its attributes. Attributes means its characteristics, that is the variable name, its type, and its length. And what is this column? It's nothing but it is the position in originally in the table. So in this table called as class birth date, at first position we have name. but it's coming here in this order. It's because it's showing you alphabetic way of representing the column names. All fine. So this is where we see the descriptor portion with the help of this procedure prop content. You see the descriptor portion of your data. So it's the general information of your table, correct? At the same time, we had also got introduced that what is the naming convention of the columns which one has to follow within SAS, that the name should not be more than 32 characters long. It should always start with a letter or an underscore. Continues it if it starts with letter or underscore, it can continue with letter, number, or underscore. Can be uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case. And what is a type? Type could be either character or numeric, right? So we had already discussed this. So numeric is any numbers with exponentials and with the minus sign. The numbers ranging or digits from 0 to 9 are all going to be into numeric type of column. Whereas what is the column where we call it as character? Values which consist of letters, numbers. Numbers can also be saved as characters, special characters, and of course blank. So these are some of the examples. So this is the type, that is the column is either character or numeric, right? And what is the length? What is actually the values which are having the maximum length to be saved? Okay, so that is in SAS, the length is always saved in bytes. So for numeric, default length is 8 bytes, where 8 bytes can significantly save nearly 16 digits, whereas character column consists of the bytes maximum of 32,767 bytes, and here one character is equivalent to 1 byte. Now we've spoken about the numeric and character type. We had also spoke about the length. How about the date values? Now in SAS, we got introduced that the dates are not saved as a separate type of column. Okay, it's not like we have other databases where in some of the databases date is always saved as data, a date type, as it's separate type of the column. But in SAS, date is not given a separate type. It's always been saved as numeric column or numeric values. Numeric, in a sense, it will save the dates in the form of number of days. And how it calculates those number of days? By calculating from 1st Jan 1960 as a 0 day till the specified date. Now in this example, 1st Jan 1960 is a 0 day. If you have given 1st Jan 1961, so it's the next year first date, it's giving you 366 days. So including the leap year, it's giving total number of days is 366. Whereas 1 year back in 1st Jan 1959, it is showing you it's minus 365 days. So it's all calculating from zero. So zero or 1st Jan 1960 is the 0 day, and so on. It will calculate the number of days. Okay, so this is very important point, that you as a data analyst, when you're working into SAS, you have to make yourself understand that dates are always saved as numeric, where it calculates as number of days from 1st Jan 1960, where 1st Jan 1960 is always saved as 0 day. All right. So we got introduced with all these things. So we had also got introduced that we had opened this data and we have observed that SAS saves missing values for character as blank, whereas for numeric, missing values represent with period. Make a note, this is not like other databases, like in, for example, Excel. Sorry. So I hope everyone had a chance to work on Excel anytime in your earlier work experience or during trainings of your college days or something. Yes? Did you people had a chance to work on Excel anytime earlier?
Yes. Yes.
Correct. So in Excel, if you are having, suppose you have a data for patients. So every patient visits the clinic or the hospital, or maybe it's a clinical trial going. So in that case, if the patient does not turn out on that day on a visit, when the data has been captured, the visit date is not captured, and the visit, suppose number of visit is being kept as in Excel, we cannot keep it as blank shell. Okay, it will always by default take that blank shell if it is numeric or if it is character. What it takes as zero, right? But in SAS it's not like this. Why? Because SAS, if you have understood, it's actually SAS terms, or it's SAS stands as Statistical Analysis System. So it's Statistical Analysis System. So it is basically built for statistical processing of the data. So in statistics, zero has some value. Mathematically, we take zero as without any value, but SAS is purely a statistical software or a system. We call it, or it never saves for numeric value missing as zero. It will take it as period. In SAS, missing means missing. So whenever that missing or that numeric column is used for calculations, it does not consider missing values. And that is why the accuracy of data is more in SAS than compared to other softwares where it treats missing values for numeric as zero, and for character you may denote it as any or some other, or sometimes people give hyphen. So that is why. So when we say it is giving the accuracy, so accuracy of result in SAS is nearly 99.9%, and that is why it's standing strong in analytics field. Though we have other open source softwares, but SAS is still doing good. It's because of its accuracy. Second thing is because being a proprietary based system. So when I say proprietary based, it's owned by particular people. So there were two scientists who had developed this in 1960s for basically for agricultural data analysis, statistical analysis mostly. So it is still treated as the pre-owned or self-owned system by those two people. And though it's developed as a company now, but it is still calling itself as institute, as SAS INC. Okay, so it's never called it as a company as a whole. So because it's a proprietary base, there is a security of your data as compared to other open sources. And of course, the third part I can strongly tell is SAS can process millions of rows and thousands of columns. So there is no limitations in row processing and column processing, whereas other software do have sometimes this limitations. And that is the reason why people most of the time move ahead to use this system. Of course, but this is more expensive than open sources because of all these qualities. And SAS always provides the licensing copies, and they expect to be taking it into a royalty basis, the payment. But it's too expensive, and they provide the system usage depending on how much the data is being processed, hourly basis, daily basis, how many users will be using it, and all those stuffs. Okay, so this is something that is why most of the people give a second thought of implementing SAS. But nowadays, it's not like this. Let it be a giant company or even a middle scale company. Nowadays, people, when they are looking for proper analysis with accuracies, and when it comes into mostly into banking sectors and clinical trial or in clinical research, people are predominantly using SAS. It's because there are certain international norms which have been put forward about data presentations. So that is where SAS is very much strong when it comes to clinical industry. When the clinical trial data has to be submitted for regulatory bodies, mostly US FDA, for approval of the drug research data, it has to be presented by using SAS system, where SAS can generate the electronic data submission to FDAs with the standards of STM, SADEX, ADAMS, okay, and the graphical presentation is also as per those norms. Same goes with banking sector. In banking sector also there are certain universal standards where the data and the database has to be represented and has to be analyzed. and that is where it is been SAS, which is standing strong. And that is why most of the people or most of the companies nowadays have projects which are looking ahead to implement SS. So we have pharmacy, or we call it as clinical research domain, in one of the leading domain which is implementing SAS. Then we also have banking domains, we have telecom domains, we have retail, we have even the education sectors, and all the upcoming sectors which are nowadays implementing SS. So moving ahead, so we had also seen the contents is written with proc contents, correct? So moving to our studio, I'll just show you one of our example. Yes, so we were on.
Ashwini, in the studio, we are having such tabs, so many tabs, which we have already worked so far.
So
Yeah,
this tabs, na? So
yeah.
this tabs, you can always close it, but before closing it asks you, do you want to save? So see
Uh-huh.
to it, you do not save, because it will override your current program. Because in
Oh,
future, when you will be practicing, it will come along with the solutions or with the changes which you have done on your code. So it's better you can close this tab without saving.
okay. So we can close all of them, right? Whatever we have done now,
Yes, yes,
except the lib name, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So let's work on proc contents. Data equal to, and I give the path for my data. So if I'm working on this data set, suppose class teacher, I go into its properties and I select my path. So this path is, it's connecting to my server of my cloud application, where I have my own profile, and within my own profile I have this folder which has the tables, and within this table is actually a SAS table. So this is how now when I execute my proc content, it, because it's a procedure, it will give me the output into a result window, because procedure means it's going to process an existing table. And this is where I see the general description about my data set. So it's telling there are three variables, their name, their type, and their length. All right. So this was about proc contents. So we had stopped here yesterday about looking into the descriptor portion. So is it feasible every time to make use of this descriptor portion, or to every, so for example, now this is, I'm working on class teacher. So next time if I want the same proc content to be used on my new data, suppose it's Europe occupation. So again, I'll have to copy the whole path, and again, I'll have to make use of this path into my coding, and I'll have to perform my procedure, correct? So this is what it's telling here, that again, I'm going to write contents data equal to, provide this my statement and step. So is it feasible every time to copy the path for that table and always use it in your proc contents? Because now it's all fine. We are using in a very small environment, which is your learning environment. But when you're working in a live scenario, the servers are going to be huge, the paths are going to be too long. So that is not going to be feasible, ideally, to write this type of procedures with your representing, or with your data to be presented for that procedure to be executed with its path, correct? So it's not going to be feasible. So when you know that this is a common thing which we are using everywhere, so why don't we create some reference name for this path, so that instead of typing the whole path, we can give some reference name for this, and within this we can say that this is the table which is to be connected. So for that, now we will get introduced to the concept called as libraries. All right. So we'll access data through libraries. So what is a library? Yes, general question in layman's term, what you understand is a library. Yes.
Collection of no, collection of information or the data, storage.
Okay. Apart from it, anything? Add Priyanka Sharmuga.
A place where you store all the information together in different, if you say old style libraries in books and in new style where you have segregated data collected in a proper way,
Okay.
stored.
Good. Sharmuga, can you?
We can store the data and access from there.
Absolutely correct. So, just a second. Some big connection issues today. All right. Correct. So you all are correct. So let's see now. Generally, library. If we explain about general term of library, it's all about you people are aware. We have books library. You have been using this library during your school days, college days. Correct. So what is it? It's a place where all the types of books are being saved or kept. But when you go to that library, you find that those books are all compiled and piled somehow. And you, as a user, when you want to read a specific book on a specific topic, suppose from a subject of science, within science, if you're interested in biology, so you just go to that heaps of books and keep on finding and searching from that hip that book. No, it's not that complicated there, correct? Because it will take a lot of time of yours. So what is library concept? You have seen it. It's such a sophisticated and a very neat and mannerly manners the books are aligned. So there is a proper segregation on department wise or on subject wise. So depending on those subjects, the books are being aligned and placed, and the catalog is also provided for us that at what shelf in which area that particular subject on which row a particular book is being kept, correct? So this is so sophisticated that the user goes directly to that place and takes that particular reading book. Same is the concept in our programming also. So we can always confine that your this path is going to be a library. So to connect or to make a library within our SAS environment, we use a statement called as libname. So libname means we are asking SAS to create a library with a library name. Hence the syntax starts with the keyword libname. We give a library reference name. For example, I gave it as PG1. So this PG1 is going to be the reference name for my library. And what is my library? It's actually the physical path where all my data is been saved. So I just copy this along with my data folder and I paste here. And now I execute this libname, only the libname statement, and I check out in my log what is the message coming. If you have observed this, I have provided the path in quotation marks. So see to it, either you use a single quotation or you use a double quotation. That's not an completion here. The internet is fluctuating. Studio is a very sensitive software. Okay, so see, it's telling because I had executed earlier, it's telling me it's already there. But again, it's telling libref pg1 was successfully assigned. And where you see the library here been created, if you check this libraries option in our left hand pane, you'll find I have this PG1 library, and within this, all the folders or all the files which was there in my PG1 in data folder, see all these data sets, it's saved in my folder. It's not still connected into SAS Studio on my SAS server. All right. It's saving as a data file with an extension .ss. But when I had created a library where it's connecting to this path, see it's giving a reference name for that path is PG1, and I see all my data files now. So it's no more having an extension telling .sas7b tag. Why? Because that is no more on my, or I'm not at all looking it into folder, but I'm actually connecting from my physical folder into my SAS environment with the reference name of PG1. So I see this as data files. Getting it? So this is what this path, we term it as library. So we have connected, or we have created a user-defined library called PG1, where we are connecting to all our external path, where I have existing data files in this folder, or in case if you want to create any new data set, that also we can save in this particular path. All right, so hence this is where the instruction we provide SAS to create a library. This is a library reference name for this particular path. So instead of every time giving the whole path, we are going to refer that path in our programming with this now. Now with this example of proc contents, now see, instead of writing the whole path again in the proc contents, I'm just going to refer the process in just few seconds. Data equal to, now instead of writing the whole path, I simply write pg1. I give a data set name, but how it will differentiate that this is a library reference and the next is a data file, I give a delimiter called period, and I'm going to access this data set. So it is the way I'm representing as libref.filename. So libref.filename, that means it will refer to this library. And what is this library? Nothing but this path. And within this path, it will refer to this data set, and it will process this proc contents. So this is when I'm executing this proc contents, it will give you the same result as we had seen earlier with your path which you have provided in your coding. So this is equivalent to this code, but this is more sophisticated to refer a table, because as I said, giving every time the path is not feasible. Depending on the server and the length of the path, it's better to create a library reference and provide the data file. So when we give the name of the data file in this format, we call it as two-level dataset name. Two-level because we give its reference name of library, dot we give its table name. So it's called two-level dataset name. All right, so we always call it as libref.filename. So the same thing we'll see it on slides. So accessing data through libraries. So see, what are they telling? Using a library to read SAS data files. So this path is common. So everywhere we are going to use this path to refer a table. So it's not feasible every time to write the whole path. So where the data is located, we know it, and this is the name of the data set. So what challenges might arise if you use a fixed path in your program? So it's a discussion. Yes, so we have already discussed. So it's not feasible every time to use the fixed path, because your data may not be always saved in the same path or in the same server in a live scenario. So hence, let's make it flexible. So this is the discussion what they're just trying to animate here with these faces, that these are the various data analysts. So what they think is, so I hope I don't need to write that file path again and again in my long program. So think of the editing I'll need to do if the data changes location. Next, what if I want to access another data type or another type of data every time? So if I always keep this path constant, these are the areas where one can always have issues to look ahead. So let's make the things more simple by creating a library. So the syntax to create your own library is libname, give a reference name, engine in case it's if it required. So engine is nothing but what type of data it is. Now in our case, we have not provided any engine name here. Why? Because the type of data which we are accessing from this path is SAS tables. Hence, default it is understood that it is here the engine called as base, which is used by default. But in case if you do not use this base, so it is understood that it's all type of data are base SAS or SAS data sets. In case in future, if you want to access the files which are of the type of Excel or Oracle, so you can always access those files into SAS environment with this libname statement. And in that case, you can always provide the type of the database, which is Excel. You always give your the engine name is Excel, or you can give Oracle and so on. All right. So that is why this is some addition in your syntax about the engine name. So it's telling what type of data it is and the path where your data is located. So again, when we are providing the name of a library, one should always keep certain rules or naming conventions in their mind while giving the name of the library. It should not be more than 8 characters long. It should always begin with a letter or underscore, and subsequent could be letter, underscore, or even number also. But it should not be more than 8 characters long. All right. So see this example they have provided. So here they have given the libref as my library or my lib. Engine name base, which is base all base SAS or tables of SAS, and this is the part where you have all your data. So libname, remember, it's a global statement. Why we call it as a global statement? Because we are submitting once throughout the session. So once we are submitting or we create a library in a session, it is effective until and unless we change the path of your library or we end your session. Okay. So once you end your session, the connection from the path and your SAS is over. Okay. So again, when you start a new session, you simply again write this libname and give the connection. Whatever you had saved earlier by using this mylib, of course, it is connecting to this path. So that is it's saved in this path. So you'll get available all in this new session. Hence, it is a global statement. Why? Because the effect of submission of this statement is throughout your session. So you do not have to every time submit this statement with your programs, with whatever the steps you are writing. All right. And understand it's not a step. Hence, it's not ending with a run statement. All right. So this is some of the example. Either you provide this engine name or you do not provide, because the data files which you are accessing currently from this path is all SAS files. Hence, it is default taken care of the engine called as basic. So this is how the folder from your external drive is having various data files is now connected in SAS with a reference name of mylib on this path. So see, it's telling base SAS engine is the default. So these two statements are the same. And how you refer it now in your program? Proc contains data equal to mylib.class run. Correct? So when I say mylib, it's the whole path where you have this data files. And within this mylib library, you are accessing a class data set. So you refer this table name as libref.table name. So it's called as libref.table name, 2-level SAS data set name. All right. So mylib indicates the type of data and the location of your class table. Fine. Okay, so before moving into deleting this, now this was the example with proc contents. Okay, so like for example, if I'm going to create a data, suppose I'm creating a data called class and I give the name as both. Okay, set is a statement which always gives the instruction to SAS that what is going to be your input source of your data to be read in this data set. So we know we have data set called now PG1, and from PG1 we are going to read this data class underscore birthday. See, it's giving us this. When I execute this, so here again I'm not going to give the whole path. I'm just giving the libref dot find. So you know it's a data step where it's going to create the name of this data or create this new data set by reading from this input source. So let's execute. Because of the connection issues, I'm getting this. So let's work out that. I have an error. PG class bird dot data it's telling because I've simply write as bird. See, I did not give the specific name of the data set. What is the name of the data set? Class underscore birth date, and I have written this. So hence in log, if you have observed, it was giving me the instruction that this data set pg1 dot class birth does not exist. See, correct? So let's go back and reconnect. See, I get this new data file, which is into output data. So when I look into log, it's telling data step was run. 19 observations were read from your input data source, pg1.class birthdate, and a new data set with the name work.classBird has 19 observations, 6 variables. So what has happened? It's actually copying all the columns and all the variables from your input data to your output data. Understood? Any questions till now? Yes? Anything which you need me to explain again?
Ashwini,
Yeah?
can you show the earlier screen? Actually, I just joined because of the network issues.
Yes, I can understand. This one, or you want me to show the slides?
No, this one, yeah. I will try to understand from here.
It's very simple. It's like instead of giving every time the whole path, we refer this path with a libref, and it's nothing but it's the path for all your SAS files. The engine is base. If we use the path for any other type of data, now a type of data like data from other databases, either you read from Excel or Oracle, so that can also be read into SAS with libname statement. There, the engine could be Excel engine or Oracle engine because the type of data is varying there. So either you give this or you don't give, it's optional. But when it is the SAS data files, it's understood it's the base engine. Engine is nothing but a software which connects to data files. Okay, that's it. And instead of every time giving the path in your proc content for your data file, now refer this path till here, which you have actually referred with this pg1 with libname as pg1.filename. It's called two level SAS data set. If you use the same kind of way of referring your table in your proc step, I just gave an example in data step. You also refer the same way your data set. If you are creating a new data by reading from this, that's it. So when you execute this statement of data, it's telling so many observations were read from your input data pg1.class birthday, and it's telling a data set work.class birth has 19 observations and 6 variables. So it's what it's doing by default with this data set. It's reading all the columns and all the variables to your output data. All right. Yes. Any doubts, any questions?
Ashwin,
Shanmuga, Priyanka. Yes, yes.
can we see the results of this? I was just wanted to know how there were 19 observations and how many variables were there.
See, this is the data output, right? So it's giving here 19 total rows and 6
total
as
six.
total columns. So see, these are the columns, these are the rows.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I just thought that the birth date would be one variable, so that's why I just wanted to see the column. It can kinds of have name, sex, and
It is not a
the date.
birth date as a column name. It's a
It's just
table
a
name.
table name.
It's,
Got it.
yeah, it's a table name. So this is a table which we are using as an input source to create a new table. And this is the table which has been created with those columns and variables. So it has columns as name, sex, age, height, weight, and birth date column. See the birth dates. How you see the birth dates here? Check this birth date column. Look into my screen.
90.
No, it's in the form of number of days.
Oh, yeah. That I understood. 16406. It's from the day of
1st Jan
1960. Now,
1960, it is calculating that specific date into number of days.
yeah, that I, yeah, thank you.
Fine. Others, Swarupa, Neelam,
Neelima.
Shanmuga. Is it clear?
Yes, understood.
Yeah, fine.
Yes, this is very, very basic thing which we have to make ourselves understand. And so that you, once this is understood, the things next which we are going to keep on growing into a programming skill, you should be clear with this basics. All right, so these are the number of days of your birth dates which are saved in SAS. So if you check here also, you find this is columns, and if you click any of this column, here you get at the bottom the description of that column, that what is the column name, type, and its length. All right. So you can try this. Go ahead and try this. Let's look into your screen for errors.
Are you seeing?
Yes, I could see your screen. So where you get error?
See, suppose if
Show me
I-
your log. Scroll up. See why you're getting error. If you scroll down, check your libname message. So it's telling your libname is successfully been processed, but the error is with your proc content. Scroll up. Why you're getting error in proc contents? Because you have not completed the syntax with that quotation marks. That is the error. So going back into the code, see what proc contents you have left it alone. So what it is, when you want to work on a single code, select one step at a time. So what you have done, you have simply pushed or you have pressed that button of running man to execute. So what happens if
Hello? Hello?
you do not select a specific statement, code or statement, whatever you have meant, what will happen? So check your log. I hope you understood what I did explain now. So you don't
Actually,
have an error with proc contents.
sorry, I didn't, I mean, you were out of
Range.
network.
Okay, I today even I am facing a range issue. Is it fine now? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, now it is.
Yeah. So when you check your log, scroll your log.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. So in log window, see where is the error coming? Scroll up. What has happened? You have simply submitted the code without selecting any specific code, right? Scroll up. So you have simply clicked that run button. So what has happened? Every statement from the code has got executed. So it got first encountered with proc contents. Then it got encountered with libname. So now because of proc content step is incomplete where you have simply given the quotation marks which are blank. So it's giving you in log the error for this proc contents. So check your log properly what it's telling. So it's telling proc contents, this type of instructions is invalid. See, it's telling the value, it's taking it as if you're giving some missing value. It's not a valid SAS member name. When you want to see the contents of a data, you have to give a member name. Now remove, now it's okay. Go to log. Just understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Go into log. So because a proc content got executed, it is not a complete instruction in proc contents. It's giving you an error. So scroll down. So post proc content, you had a libname statement. So a libname statement got executed successfully. See, it's telling a note below libname. Libref pg1 was successfully assigned as follows with this engine v9 with this physical path. So you have this library created. So how you'll check your library is created? Come to your left hand side pane, go to libraries tab. Check pg1 library. See, it's created pg1. And within PG1, you'll find, see, all these data files which were saved in the path of PG1 folder. It's having all the SAS files now. Now, how will correct your proc content step? So do you really give the whole path of table now in proc contents?
No.
Now you know how to refer a table now. So you refer a table with a libref.file name. So remove those codes. And now write what is a libref here which you have created. Library reference name, what is it which you have created? PG1, right?
Yeah.
So write PG1 dot. So within this library, it will give you all possible data files. So select any one data file, yes. And now submit this proc contents. Select it and submit. Yes.
Okay.
Now it will simply execute proc contents and you see the contents of this data. Understood now?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you can stop sharing your screen. Whereas others, Swarupa, Shanmuga, Priyanka,
I did it. I ran the
any
program.
doubts, any questions, any errors?
No, Ashwini.
No
I did.
errors.
No errors?
Ashwini,
Yes.
my proc content data is running, but it's giving me a notification which says that it is in a format that is native to another host, or the session encoding cross environment data access will be used,
Okay,
which
just
might.
show. Okay, share me your screen, please.
You see now?
Not it. Okay.
So I know it's running, it's not an error, but it's just giving me
No,
something.
it's fine. This everyone is getting. It's you all are going to get this because it's a cloud application. So sometimes
Okay.
it gives you this notes. Okay, so there is no error. It's not a
And
special thing. Yeah. See
when
now
I
now Priyanka, one thing. Check your prop contents here below lib name statement.
here data
Code.
PG1.
Check the code. See below lib name you have prop contents written.
Yes.
Is prop contents highlighted in blue?
No,
Why?
because this is not closed.
Where? Absolutely. So you have to be
Yeah.
very careful. Yeah.
I
See,
yeah,
because you
added
check
that.
your log,
Okay.
it was showing you an error.
Oh,
See, there is one error. Scroll up.
yeah, it's here.
Same thing, right?
Hmm.
So you have to be very careful. So
Okay.
you're working in this demonstration file, okay? So see to it that when you are closing this window, do not save this demo, okay? It will get overwritten.
Okay.
So
And
it's
when
always
I
better that you can write it into a new code window.
okay.
It's fine now. For this, it's all fine. What is your question?
My second part of the code was actually I added this lib name later. First I just did with prop contents because lib name was there. But my this data class birth set run, this is not giving me any.
What is the name in PG1, the dataset name? Is it class birth?
Date. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Got it. No,
No.
it's class under birth date. Right?
Okay. So you have written in contents, right? Yeah. This is the actual name. Absolutely. Now select data step and submit it.
Perfect. Got it.
All right. So any doubts, any questions? Yes? Yes, any doubts, any questions? Anyone?
Ashwini, again, I want to share my screen once.
Yes. Yes. So looking at the code itself, you come to know that there is some problem in your program. It's not highlighted in blue. You have missed, yes. Now execute. Select this step, only select this step and execute. Okay. So do we really write data step with data equal to? Look at the code. Go back to your code. Is it a proc step which you are writing data equal to? Give a space. Correct. Done. See, output data set is created. So see the tab is currently as output data tab next to results. Right? So check your log. So it's telling data set is
Okay.
created named as
Yeah.
work.class. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll take a break for 5 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll resume back after 5 minutes.
Shall I show the screen?
This meeting is being
Yes.
recorded.
Yes. Please share your screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay, so this is what you see.
Mm.
So what it's telling, the table work dot class birth cannot be opened because it does not contain any columns. That means the table is not created correctly. So close this. Come.
Ashwini, I couldn't hear you. Hello? Ashwini, are you there?
A log. So log is showing it's an error or no error. Let's check.
Ashwini?
All right, yeah, I had some network issue. That's why I got disconnected. So yes,
Okay.
Shanmuga, share your screen, please. I'm so sorry for that disconnection. Yes. Show me a log window. Okay, so it's telling there were one observations read from this data. Okay, so PG1 class birth date, it is telling there is only one observation because your data is not being created correctly. Why? So let's go back into your code and debug. So did you execute your libname statement correctly?
Yes.
Resubmit your libname statement. Let me check. Only libname statement. There is not a requirement of run with libname, okay? Because libname is not a step. All right, your PG1 is created. Now come to your libraries. Come to libraries pane, left hand side. Let me see your library PG1 and with data file. Yeah. Open that class birth date table. Double click it. So this table itself cannot be opened because it does not have any column. So your class birth date itself is not having any tables. Close this window. How come your class birth dates it's not having any table? Come to your folders, server files and folders tab. Come to your folder within PG data. See you have class birth date. Double click class birth date. Yes, .ss7. Double click this. Let's check if this data has any data sets has any data. No, this data itself is not having any data.
Okay.
So maybe while uploading this file, there was some issue where the data has not been uploaded. Close this tab, this current window. Try to open some other class test or class test 2, 3, which any one of the data. Let me check. No, your data is not uploaded correctly. That is the
Okay.
reason why any of the tables is not getting data files. Again, try to open another table of SAS files. Okay, so this table is been getting open. Fine. All right. Okay, so where is your data on your external drive on your PC?
Okay. I will take.
Just open that folder. It is the extracted data, like the folder for all data files. Have you extracted, or it's
Yes.
still the zip folder?
Yes, it's extracted. This is.
This is extracted. All right. Okay, come to your studio. Okay. So right click your data tab folder here. With to see within PG1 you had data. Again right up click upload, sorry. Upload files and try to upload from the path again. Select all. It's okay, select all.
Oh, wait, I will.
You did not select the files. Please.
Hey, Ashwini.
Yes.
Still she's loading. Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir, sure. You can go ahead.
What is the significance of using that base word? Because in Shanmuga's, I didn't see the base word.
It's okay. See, what happens is currently we are connecting to all the data files which are SAS type or SAS data sets, correct? So
Okay.
base is actually the engine or it's a software which is an instructions to the SAS that it's the files of the same type of data. So base, because we are currently working on base SAS, it's a base SAS, it's actually a SAS programming software.
Okay.
Okay, so in future, in case if we are going to connect to any of the other data files to take in the data into SAS, suppose we are working on data type of Oracle or Teradata or
Mm-hmm.
Excel or any other data files. So that lib name with your libref and along with the engine name, suppose you give Oracle if it's a Oracle file, Excel if it's an Excel file, that is necessary when you connect to the other data types.
Okay.
All right, so that is the significance where we use it. But here, because it's the same type of software and it's we are working on its same data files, that is SAS data type cells, data sets. We either you give the base as an engine name or you do not give the engine name. It is understood by SAS that you are actually connecting to the base data files or SAS data files.
Okay.
All
So
right?
if it is SAS, it is coming from SAS. You can give it or you don't give it. It will be fine.
Correct.
But for
Yes.
Oracle, other
Excel and
things you
all.
have to
Yes.
specifically mention it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, okay, coming back to Shanmuga. Fine, Shanmuga, just resubmit your libnim statement.
Okay.
All right, so come to this folder, select this class underscore birth date table. Just open, double click it. Let's see if it got uploaded. Yeah, now it got uploaded correctly. Go to your code. Where is your code? Program to window na? Or the program one. Okay. Now submit your data step. Done? Check your log.
Yes.
No, result, you will not get anything in result because it was a data step. It's not a prompt step. So data step will not give you output in result window. It will give you a window called output data window where you see the data being created. All right.
Okay.
So see, it's telling there were 19 observations read from the data set pg1.class.date and the data set work.class.date has 19 observations and 6 videos.
Mhm.
Okay. Now
Okay.
see, looking into your log, The second note, what it's telling that data set work dot class work dot. So what is this work dot? Come to your code window. Everyone pay attention. It's for everyone. I'm explaining a concept. Come to your code window. So did you really give the new data set to be created in your data statement the name as work dot class birth date?
No.
No.
It's simply class birth date, right? So what is that work in log? Why it's giving in log that a data set work dot class birth date is created? Go back into log. Understand that step properly. See, when you had submitted your data step at line 69, see that line 69, you see data class birth date, then you see set statement. Of course, set statement we know we had given from a reference library, right? And then it's giving you a note post 79 line that there were 19 observations read from input data and a new data set created with the name work.class photo. What is that work? Though you have not provided that information as work.class in your data step in data statement. But where is this work coming from? It's because, okay, it's because whenever we are working into SAS, by default, when we start our session, we have two libraries provided by SAS environment. One is the temporary library and one is the permanent library. So one of that name of temporary library is work. And default, though you have not provided as a libref while creating this new data set class birth date, it's default saving it into a work library. Hence, in log, it giving you the message as work.class birth date has been created. Getting it? So,
Yes.
Shanmukha, can you please stop sharing your screen? I'll come to my screen now.
Okay.
So, yes, so whenever we saw this message, it's telling work.class birth date it's been created by reading from your one of the libraries. So did we provide any reference to be created for this data in which library it has been saved? No. So by default, as I explained, SAS, whenever you start your session, SAS always gives you two types of library. One is the temporary and one is the permanent. And the temporary library name is work library. So it's by default saving it in the work library, even if you do not refer its libref while creating this data set. So why it's temporary? Because anything which is getting saved in this work library, it's only for that session. Once you end the session, the files which you have saved in work library gets deleted. Therefore, it's termed as temporary library. Whereas one of the permanent library which SAS is providing is SAS Help, where we have already predefined some data files. So this is one of the permanent library which SAS has provided. And we have a temporary library which SAS has provided with the name of work. So if I scroll this down, see, I have a work library. And currently you'll see there is one data file which is class birth date, which is default saved in this work library. So whenever you want to save any data into temporary, either you will refer it like this, or you may not refer a libref. It's default understood that it's going to be saved into temporary library. Apart from these two libraries, we are creating our own user-defined library called as PG1 with this statement. So in case if you do not want to overwrite or you do not want to do any updates in this PG1, okay, so in case if you do not want to do any changes in this PG1, you can also create your own library with a specific name. For example, I write lib name, I give suppose base, and I give a path for a specific folder from my folders. So in case here, see, I've created one folder. I select properties. I copy this path execute. L I did not select. So see, it's giving me a warning that though I did not select L, it says because it's identifying keywords, it's a warning that it is assuming it's a keyword lib name misspelled as I name. So see, it's telling base is successfully created. When I check this library, I have base created. So in case if I want to save this birth date in my personal library, I may write base dot in data step, re-execute my data step. I check my log. So now it's telling I have saved it in my base as my base libref. It's telling this data set is created. So when I check my library of base, I have seen class birthday been created. All right, understood? So this is user defined library. So this is user defined library. This is user defined library. So those are still permanent library. Why? Because your path is not changing. So whenever you reconnect this libname statement again in the new session, whatever you had saved earlier in this session by referencing this libref, it will be saved in this path and it's again reconnected in the path again. All right, same goes with PG1. Are you getting it? Did you understand what is permanent library and what is the temporary libraries? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any doubts, any questions in this?
We don't need to create that temporary library, right? It will be in
It is
default.
there. Whenever
Oh.
you start the session, it's always there. You
Oh.
don't have to create anything. Because you see, when you did not give any reference here earlier, it was by default saving it in work library, correct? So that's what I said, that by default, whenever you start your session, SAS provides you two libraries. One is temporary, one is permanent. So temporary is named as work library. Permanent is already there, which is SAS help.
Okay.
Apart from this two, user can create their own user defined libraries with a libname statement.
Okay.
So this
Fine.
base one, will this be saved? You said it. This will be saved in base by default, right? In my libraries.
Yeah, it's there. Its default means for this session, this library will be there. See,
Yeah.
base is there,
Will it
PG1
get
is there.
saved in work also?
No, why? Library is a part here. When we are creating a table, if you are referring this library, then this table will be saved in this library. But in case this table you are not referring any libref, that means it
It
is
gets
saving
saved.
in work library.
Okay.
Getting it
Okay.
now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now currently my this table is saved in base. Now in case in future you do not want this connection back from this base library, again you do not need to be use anything from this library or need to update this library, you can always give a statement to SAS that SAS can disconnect the connection from your library. So I can write the library which I have created was base and I want to disconnect it. So what does this means? That libname for my library, the connection which is made with this path, it should get clear. So the dissociation from my SAS environment and this library will be disconnected. So see, it's telling libref base has been deassigned. So when I check my library again, I do not see this here, but whatever I had saved earlier in this path by this instructions will be still there in this path. All right. So this is very, I can say it's just a program effective as a data analyst when you are working on a huge data files in a business scenario. There are various paths where you might be locating the table. So every time you might be connecting those table into SAS. Once you have taken the required information from this table, it's always a best practice to disconnect from that tables or from that library. Why? Because your environment or your system is going to use a huge resource if it's still connected. So it's always a best practice that once your task is done, you connect with that path, you do whatever updates or changes or information you want, you take it and you dissociate from that path. So this is a best practice to dissociate with your library. All right. So that is what your slides upcoming are trying to tell us. So this is what it is. Using a library to read SAS files. So delete library reference. You simply write libname, give your library reference name and write a word called clear. So the connection which is made with your external drive or the path where all your files are, it's dissociated. So your data is not deleted. Remember why? Because we have whatever we have connected with that library, we save with that library. It's always there in that path. So you're not deleting your table. You're simply dissociating the connection from that path with your SAS environment. Data is not deleted. Fine. Okay, so it's the same activity which we are trying to tell you, which we have already done. Okay, so before moving it, what they are telling you that when you have written the statement, you need to save this code as a SAS code file. So everyone come to your program window where you have created a libname statement. So wherever you have created this libname statement, like this, I want only this libname statement in that particular program window of yours. Like this. Why I'm telling you? It's because in future, whenever you will be starting your session, first thing is you have to open this code and you'll have to submit this request so that you get connected to all your data files. So you need to save this as a SAS code. So see, you have this icon of save button here next to running man. So click this save. Okay. So it will give you option where to be saved. So select your PG1 and save this as a SAS program window. By default, it will be saved with .ss extension. So what does that .ss extension means? That means it's a SAS coding window. Correct? See, like this, it should visible like this, libname.ss with this running man with this dot. So .ss means it's a SAS code. So your program should be saved as a SAS code file. So that this program window, whenever it gets opened, it will have this name as libname. It will never have as program 1 or program 2 window. Yes, go ahead and save this as SAS data or SAS code program file. Done? Yes.
Yes.
Were you able to save it as a SAS code window? So
Yes.
see, your window will always get this name as libname.ss. So
We
.ss indicates, yeah, you had already done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
We already did it in the first class, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you a glimpse that this is how you can save the code.
Okay. Okay.
Moving ahead, so this we have already done. So as we discussed, automatically when we start a session, SAS always provides you two libraries. One is the temporary, which is work, contents deleted at the end of their session. Default, if no library, if specified for your data, it's default treated as it's a work library. So if you write any of your proc step like data equal to test, it is equivalent at work.test. Or even if you don't write work, it is only test, it's understood that SAS will look into temporary library. And the second is one of the permanent library called SASL. So within the SASL, you have some data files, you refer it as sasl.cars. All right, so automatic SAS library. So it's telling that being a SAS administrator, this administrator is the person who is actually taking care of all various tools and softwares along a SAS platform. He only has the rights of creating the libraries or deleting the libraries. I'm talking this with respect to other libraries which we see in your SAS session, apart from SASL. Okay. Yes, so we had seen this also. Now let's see how one can read the data files from Excel. Okay. So see the same libref, libname libref, you give the engine when the file type is XLSX. You give the engine as XLS. So the XLS engine reads Excel files. So the path, this is the libref, this is the engine, this is the path where you are reading the Excel data file. So this XLSX engine requires a license for SAS access interface with PC file. Now why they have given this note is, remember SAS is a proprietary based software, as we had discussed earlier also. When we are working with non-SAS files, there are certain softwares which gets connected to those data files. Those softwares are called as engines. Okay. So in case if you people or the company is going to take or purchase this software, nowadays the softwares are coming up with a default engine with Excel. But in case in future, if you want to fetching the data from other data files like big databases like Hadoop or Teradata, this engine licensing has to be purchased by the company. Then only whenever you'll be accessing it, you need to give this engine name, then it will get connected. Otherwise, it will give error. So this engine licensing is always provided with huge softwares by the companies to get connected. That's it. Nothing much into this. Okay, for this note. But for us, we are working with Excel. It's an .xls file. Okay, so moving back here. So see in our data, we do have this Excel. If I check this table or if I check this folder within data, pay attention, we have this see XLS file. Okay, so the same XLS file we do have within our data sets in our external drive. See, this was this XLS file. So if you open this, you know it gets opened into Excel. See, and this class data or this class Excel sheet consists of how many tabs? 4 tabs. See, class birthday, class teachers, class tests. Okay, so these are the various sheets within one Excel book. So we are going to connect this whole Excel book into SAS environment. So moving back into your SAS studio, now what we are going to do is we are going to create a connection with SAS and your Excel workbook. Same libname I write, suppose the same name I give my Excel as a libref. engine is XLSX, correct? And the path, so path for my class.xls window, I go into it, properties, take this path, put it here. This extension is the same engine name. All right. Now I execute this libname statement. Again, I missed that L to be selected. Hence, it's giving me a warning. Warning always comes in green color. It's misspelled. Why? Because by selecting C, I did not select L. So, see to it you select properly and re-execute. See, it's telling libref, my Excel was successfully assigned with an engine C, XLSX, and this is the physical part. Now I go back into my libraries, I check for my, see, my Excel. So when I check this my Excel, what you see this? What are this? If you remember, I had shown you the Excel workbook.
Different
Yes.
tabs of the Excel sheet.
Correct. So the whole Excel book has been read into SAS, and every tab or every sheet of your Excel is been read as a different data file into this whole library. So class is one data, class what date is another, class teachers, class tests. Got it? So by default, the whole workbook has been read and every sheet or tab is treated as a separate data file. So moving back into my program, in case if I want to generate a report on this class test, so I must simply write proc data equal to, now it's which library? My Excel dot, and this is class underscore test. Correct? Now I submit this. So what it will do, it will go and connect to my library called my Excel. Within this library, it will read this as a SAS file, as if you are, because you have referenced it, you are reading it as a SAS reference, libref.file name, and it's reading it and generating the report. So it's actually a process which has performed as importing the data from an external data file within SAS environment to be used as a data set to generate a project. So every time it's going to be a huge resource utilization to connect to this whole Excel path. Now this is Excel, it's all fine for a class training. It's understood, it's not that resources it will use. But in your live data scenarios, when you're working with huge databases like Oracle, Teradata, there are various tables, various data for various departments for the organization, various projects, you have various tables. So the things over there is going to be complicated. So our current, suppose business scenario requires that we want to access this data. So it's not always feasible to generate a proc print by submitting a libname. So it's better what we can do it in this cases, just create a copy of this in our environment by reading it from my Excel dot class and run it. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to create a data set from this data file, which is an external database. So once I create a data set within my SAS environment, now I'm going to use this data throughout my processing. I'm not going to again reconnect every time. So once the data has been taken, just dissociate from that data. Because as I said, it will be system resource utilization huge amount of system utilization of resource will be taken, and sometimes the server will get slow. So when you're working on live scenario, the servers working slow will affect the business report generations. So it's always recommended that what is required, you get connected, take it into your environment. Once that part is done, you dissociate it with it. Hence, with this libning, you get dissociated. So now this data we already have in our work library. So on this data set, simply go ahead and suppose you have various procedures, you write proc print or you may write proc contents, anything which is then required. Go ahead and just simply work on it. All right. So this is how your task becomes simple with labeling. All right. Understood?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can also try the same.
After done this part, we have to give that clear option finally, right?
Yes, you have to, once you have finished copying this table from this path of your library by reading from my Excel, say to it, whatever task you have done, you dissociate it. So you just,
Okay.
yes. So it's always a good practice to clear the connection with other data files. So
Okay.
yes, you can try this with Excel. Done?
Ashwini,
Yes.
my engine is not highlighting blue.
Just check whether you have written XLSX.
XLXS.
It's not XS, it's XLSX.
Yes, X. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
under data path, we have to paste from.
Your PG1 folder where you have this data, where you have data folder. Because
Anything.
we have imported, or we have uploaded all the files, correct? So
Yeah,
it's there in your data.
Yes, any Excel file I can take, right?
Yes, yes. Apart from class, you can take any which has the extension of .xlsx. Because you're an engineer, you have provided this xlsx. No problem. You can try out anyone.
Yeah.
Done? Shanmuga, Priyanka, Swarupa.
Not yet.
Okay. If you're stuck anywhere, please let me know.
Yeah, I have done, but I've taken some other Excel.
No problem. Is it working?
Yes, it
Did
is.
it create a library?
Yes.
That's it. So try to use in ProcPrint. Then once it is done, dissociate it or disconnect it.
Okay. Yeah. I've created the prop print and then I've dissociated.
Did you see the message that it is disassigned from your session now? Check your log.
Yeah, from my log, it is showing as, yeah, it has been disassigned.
Great. Others, I hope you people were able to successfully create your library for Excel, work on that, and then disassign the same.
Yes, I did it.
Great. Swarupa, Shanmuga.
Yeah, I also did it.
I did it, Ashwini.
Great. Any doubts, any questions, any queries?
No.
Okay. What we can do is we can stop for the day. So you can revise these topics for you people as and self study or homework. Okay. So once this is done, we'll check out for all other things by tomorrow. All right. So we stop at this point. Okay. So let's meet up tomorrow. Not
Okay.
tomorrow. Your next class. Sorry. So
Thursday.
Thursday.
Ashwini, I
Yes.
don't know if you discussed yesterday, but are there any way to get these recordings if not from YouTube?
But I think on our group, this videos gets uploaded, so you can check that. Or we also maintain an Excel file, so we can provide access for it. But I think the videos are already been uploaded in the group,
They
SAS
go
group.
into YouTube from group also if you want. I've seen them in YouTube.
They
Does
connect to
any
YouTube, yes, because we upload on our YouTube channels. So, like, you want me? How you want? How are you like thinking of to have it?
like just to have a copy of it, because there is so many things which goes into GuruSchools YouTube channel, like YouTube every day, that you have to go like past a lot of things to find what you're looking for. So I was hoping if we can get it, like either the recordings which you are making and sending it to Dave, or like if it is fine. I don't know what others want, but so that we can maintain our own download
So
version.
no, the download. I think you can always download that particular from YouTube and create your own downloads in YouTube. So that anytime you want, you can check it in going into YouTube itself. But yes, we do maintain an Excel, but that is again the link which is connecting to YouTube. So its
Okay.
best way is from the channel you can download it and create your download list and you can save it.
Okay. Anybody been successful in doing that?
Yeah, earlier batch people are doing the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
All
Sure.
right?
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you everyone. Wish you I know for you it's a
Good
good night.
night.
So
And
good
you have a
night.
good
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.